So I'm Christian. I'm the owner and still the CEO of Goobit. I'm actually a quantum physicist, a scientist from the beginning. And yeah, so I love innovation from a scientific point of view. And when I found out about Bitcoin, it was actually an accident, or I mean, it was a coincidence. I was amazed that there is a financial system that's not owned by any bank or government, that you can conduct transaction more or less for free on the internet. And that was like my first realization of Bitcoin. Like, okay, fuck, this is gonna change everything. This is a total, complete game changer. And I was so amazed by that. So I just quit my job and start doing something. I didn't know what, anything with Bitcoin. And it took me maybe 1.5 years, because this was 2011, and I started the company 1 year later. So it took me a while to just explore the Bitcoin scene and see what I can do. So Goobit started out as a exchange service. It was just a WordPress blog where you could actually send a message to me, hi, I want to buy Bitcoin for 100 kroner. And then you got a reply, okay, thank you, send 100 kroner to this bank account and you will get your Bitcoins. That's it. I was so happy every time I got a mail, like, wow! I did it entirely free. Because yes, as many others, I was so amazed by the technology, and I just wanted to push it out in the world, to get people start using it. So I think for the first, I don't know, 3-4 months it was for free of charge. I was just doing it because I loved it myself. But then suddenly one day someone wrote about it on Flashback, a forum where you write anything. It's like from, yeah. And they said, oh, Bitcoin is this new anonymous currency, blah blah blah, and BTCX, yeah. My company's name is Goobit, but the product is BTCX. So it's good to know the difference. But so they said, oh, BTCX, you can buy Bitcoin. And overnight, my number of orders went up with 300%. And from that day, I started the company, Goobit, and I actually put in a fee so I could earn a living on it. So that's how it all started, basically. Yeah, I mean, I was so early. I mean, I started January 2012, basically, and so no one knew what Bitcoin was. Only very, very few people. So there was basically no problems at all at that time. You know, I had bank accounts and did my business, and I think my first actual problem was my first fraud. Someone had illegally transferred money from a bank account to my bank account, and from that day things changed. Then the banks called me and started seeing, okay, I mean, because I was the main subject, suspicion for this money transmission. But they realized that wasn't the case, and then they had a familiar touch with Bitcoin, and they had questions, and then basically I started to learn how banks are working. And in the beginning it was quite okay, but then it became more and more, the banks became more and more hostile, you can say, when they realized what actually Bitcoin was. In the beginning I just said, no, it's like a TV game currency. You can buy gems in a game. Like, you know, like, that sounds like fun and not dangerous. But then it realized, oh, this is a global financial monetary transmission system. Like, what does that mean for us? Then it started making more resistance. And then it took a year before the actual government started exploring Bitcoin, and they started to pose legal requirements on my company, and basically that's from that day that's what become more and more of the business. Unfortunately, I mean, I started Bitcoin as a revolution, like, yay, finally a finance system that we own and not the government or banks. This is our finance system. But the last year I've been only working with complying with banks, complying with governments, complying with the legal structure, which is a lot of work and is really costly. So from starting from nothing, that's impossible to do today. At least if you work with exchange business with Bitcoin, it's as troublesome as start any other financial company. So the benefit of being using Bitcoin as an exchange is gone today. But you can still have it as a user. Regulation is not that bad, not in Sweden at least. But the banks have more, I don't know, demands. I don't think the banks see it, not the Swedish banks see it as a direct threat to the business model. Maybe, but I think the Swedish banks are quite small, so they see the threat is, for example, Citibank is a bigger bank, and for Citibank they might see it as a threat, and they tell them the smaller banks that don't do business with Bitcoin companies, which basically makes the Swedish banks quite tied back, because they need to comply with the bigger banks to play on the arena. And from my perspective, I mean, we live in a democratic world, more or less, and finance is less. You cannot choose your currency. The Riksbanken is not really something you vote for, so it's not democratically changeable in that way. And then we come to the financial laws, which is the opposite. In the normal legal scene, you are innocent until proven guilty. In the financial world, you are guilty until proven innocence. And this is, I mean, it's crap. I mean, it's so far from democracy and human rights as you can come. And for some reason, we accept that. I'm not sure why. And this is what I want to change, because I don't accept it. So from my dream legal landscape, I would say have the same jurisdiction as in the rest of the world with the legal aspects of finance. And then it comes to tax. I mean, I'm obviously in Sweden, and in Sweden we love tax for some reason also. But I disagree with many of the tax system we have. I'm very ideologically inspired from like a resource-based tax system, and from that point of view, you shouldn't tax work. Basically, in Sweden, you pay tax, I don't know, 50, 60, 70%. So if you work, if you do something, 70% of the work is actually owned by the government. So you don't own your own work. If you produce something, you don't own it. And I think that's it's wrong. You should own what you do. And when you monetize it, then you can see, okay, maybe you should pay some tax. So I should remove income tax, work tax, basically. Take that away and double the consumption tax instead. I have no idea how that society would look like, but I would try it if I get the opportunity. Basically what I do with Bitcoin Partiet is to make Bitcoin a legal tender. which means you can pay your tax with Bitcoin. And that's my other vision, is why should you want to be dependent on a banking system? And it's very apparent that there is a possibility that the banks may fail, and the financial system we have today might fail. And what happens when that occurs is depression, and basically that happened in the US in the 20s. You went from a quite working society to a not working society. You couldn't even buy milk in the stores, and that can happen again. I mean, it's happening here and there on the planet. So why be dependent on the banks and their systems if you can have a choice? I think that's good to have, and to have a cryptocurrency as a choice, it needs also to be a legal tender. I haven't really made a big PR thing out of it. I started the party mostly out of fun. Actually, it was a morning. We were with some friends last spring, and a friend told me, "Oh, Christian, I had this crazy dream. You started a Bitcoin party." And I was like, "You dreamt that?" "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, why the hell not?" And 1 month later, there was Almedalen, which is a big political event in Sweden, in Visby. So I decided, okay, let's do an open invitation. Anyone who wants to start Bitcoin party can come. And we were like, 5-6 people, and we started the political party at that place at that time. And we put up, an agenda and what we want to achieve. And so I just made a foundation, and then I haven't done so much more. So I'm just waiting for someone to step in and see the potential and bring it out to the people. But now and then I get contact. People interviewing me about it, and I occasionally receive mail where they sign up for the party, and every time I'm so happy that someone else is believing in the ideas and taking it seriously. Sweden is great. Of course, it depends on what you want to do. I'm connected with the financial sides, the normal financial side and the crypto side, and for that it's really great. The authorities are quite positive and supporting, and it's quite clear what you need to do, and it's quite simple. It's basically just following the normal financial laws, and that's it. And the cryptocurrency itself, it's not regulated unless you do profit and in and out in bank accounts. So I know many other countries where it's more difficult to operate. So it also depends on what you want to do. In Sweden, it's quite easy to get a Bitcoin license from the government, and that is valid for entire Europe. In other places in Europe, it might not be possible to get that. And that's a positive thing based in Sweden. The only negative part could be the banking situation, that they're quite negative. If you go to the bank and say, "Hi, I have a Bitcoin company, we want to revolutionize the world," they will say like, "No thank you, next." So being a bit careful with the banks, that's the only thing. Good question. I really want to be honest, but the last year I've been so focused on normal business stuff, learning how to be a CEO, have lawyers, stuff like that. So I've almost slipped out of the Bitcoin scene. It feels like I'm stuck in the normal business. I would say stay connected with the community. The community is really strong. So get support of the community and be open. I've noticed that the Bitcoin community is not greedy. It's very helpful, and if they see something that is greedy, that might be not so welcome. And that's just the perspective that Bitcoin actually came financial crisis 2008, where greed was huge, at least in the American banks' financial system. So it has a history of generosity. So stay open and generous, then you will succeed. I have so many things I want to do. I mean, it feels like Bitcoin is a spaceship. You can do like whatever you fucking like. But you're driving like on pebbled roads with a spaceship, so it's hard to do what you like to do because the rest of the society is not ready yet. And from that perspective, around the next corner is like simple stuff like paying your bills with Bitcoin or sending money to another bank account. So it's like very basic normal things, but you can do it with Bitcoin instead. But what I wanted to do is more like move out from the banking system completely and do your financial business with Bitcoin and do your bookkeeping with cryptocurrencies and pay your tax and
BitNation sort of level.
Yeah, exactly. Like almost being able to move completely outside this legal system into another legal system of your own choice. That's the thing.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
We're now ready to take it to the next level.